Welcome, one and all, console war veterans and civilian noobs, to the 5th episode ever of the Green vs. Blue podcast. We are your hosts, David Brown and
PSPat Fennel.
Today's main story: the console Cold Wars begin to thaw. Green vs. Blue is a podcast where we, your hosts, discuss the two best gaming platforms in the world, Xbox and PlayStation. You can find us at patreon.com/green vs. blue, or if you want to hit us up on our email, psboxcast@gmail.com. Also, check us out on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube very soon. Pat, where can we find your individual socials?
David, you can find me on Instagram at PlayStationPat.
And you can find me on YouTube at SDDawg, SDDawg, or Twitch, real SDDawg, same spelling. Alright, so let's get right into today's episode. Games this week. What are the new games that have come out for PlayStation, Pat? PlayStation, Pat?
Well, Dave, first off, I have been playing Super Smash Bros. This past week on my Switch, and I'm really starting to miss my PS4. Which is, haven't been able to play for 4 or 5 weeks, but we'll get back to that very soon, keep talking about that. But, I'm also regretting not bringing my Vita with me and having that on my person. Get some sweet trophies. But anyway,
get them.
What have you been playing?
Oh, I've been playing a little bit of PUBG on Xbox. The game is a little bit dead now. I've been playing a little bit with some of our friends, my wife. Yeah, just doing that. Nothing too crazy.
Really? How are the server numbers over there? Are they down?
Well, the thing is, in that game, they added a bots to it, so you can't really tell if when you get into a game, if there's actually a lot of people playing until you run into a bot. There was one game where we ran into like 90% bots, and then the last 2 people we fought were like real people.
Are they a lot easier, these bots, or do they seem to be unfair?
They seem to challenge you a bit if you suck at the game, but if you're good at the game, I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal.
Anyway, so yeah, new this week coming to PlayStation. So we actually got a pretty cool physical collector's edition that was just announced. It is the Annapurna Collector's Edition. They are a great little indie studio. Games like What Remains of Edith Finch. So you can get that. It comes with 8 games. And there is a really limited deluxe edition for $199.99, $200. And that's sadly limited to 2,000 copies. So by the time you're listening to this, it's probably gone. But that being said, there is a $179.99, only, $20 less, that will be available for a while, but that is still limited, so probably November, it will no longer be available for sale. Yeah, so again, I combed through this week. There's no drop on the PlayStation blog, and so I combed through the new this week on the store, and David, I'm pretty sure it's broken.
Really?
Yeah. I've gone through the last 3 weeks of the new games this week section, and last night I clicked through on the new this month, and there were a couple games that excited me that I don't recall seeing on the new this week part of the store at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, but before I go in through the whole rigmarole of games that are available, what's going on over there at Xbox?
Well, we have a little bit shorter list from where you're at, so I'll go off mine first. So we have on Game Pass this week, or by the time you're listening to this, it will already be out. So Hot Shot Racing was added actually yesterday of recording this, and Tell Me Why, Chapter 3, another episode to that game that just came out recently, was added. Leaving Game Pass, however, on September 15th, probably by the time you're listening to this, Goner, Blueberry Edition.
How ironic of a name.
Right. Jump Force, jumping right out of Game Pass. Yeah, so those 2 will be gone. So if you're looking for those, unfortunately, that is a reality that we live in.
I actually played Jump Force. Little pro tip for anybody listening. I really hate giving out this, and I don't want too many people to know, but the library actually has a pretty great selection of video games these days, and I was able to borrow Jump Force for PS4 from my local library, and I think I spent more time in loading menus than I did actually playing the game, and I really found myself just button mashing. So even if you like those characters, don't worry about it leaving Game Pass.
All right, so what we got on your side, Pat? What's new?
So David, on the PlayStation side, we got this new game called Nexomon Extinction. I'm really psyched about it. It's kind of a Pokemon clone, and that came out 2 weeks ago, but again was not on the new this week. And then, so yeah, I'll probably be playing that. very soon. And then we also got RPG Maker MV. You know, I'm pretty sure I pre-ordered this game. It's a game maker, but Dave, I'm pretty sure I pre-ordered this game in like 2016.
Make sure you hold on to that receipt.
Yeah, but I won't be playing that, but pretty cool. And there is, in fact, a free suite right now available called RPG Maker MV Player, and you can play other RPGs that people make. I don't know any names off the top of my head, but I know there have been some notable games that were actually birthed in the RPG Maker suite.
Cool.
So furthermore, we got Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. That's a super sick fantasy game. Kind of predated The Witcher 3 and there's a whole history behind it. We could do a whole episode on it. Kurt Schilling, the old Red Sox baseball player, best known for winning the World Series for the Red Sox, was involved in the development of that. That remake is back out. Then furthermore, we got Tamarin, which is a very beautiful platformer featuring a monkey as the main character, and you are fighting a bunch of bugs. Furthermore, we got Windbound. That's a survival game, very much in the same vein as Zelda Wind Waker. Inertial Drift, which is a twin-stick racer. Pretty interesting. A new sort of control scheme for racers that we don't really see. We got Suicide of Rachel Foster, which is a scary game, and I'm a little sissy boy. I will not be playing that, but Dave, I know how much you and your wife love freaking out a little bit.
You know, I'm a little bit of a sissy boy myself.
Yeah, maybe it's your wife more who loves the getting scared. All right, then we got Party Hard 2, which is a, quote, party-stopping stealth strategy. Dave, and that game is all about killing people to make them be quiet and stop partying.
Nice.
You know, I don't like killing people, but I do love seeing an annoying party get shut down. Then finally, we got Menorah, which is a very nice little Metroidvania style game. Beautiful art style. All right. You know, Dave, I'm going to start picking up from the PS Now. Coming new to PS Now this month is Final Fantasy 15. Fun game if you're into the JRPG style, or if you played Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Good to pick up. Then we got Resident Evil 7. And this was silly. PlayStation announced this game as coming to PlayStation Now, and at the same time announced it will be leaving in November. So, do your thing. Then lastly, leaving in October from PlayStation Now. These games are leaving in October. We got Watch Dogs 2, Rainbow Six Siege, Just Cause 4, and Metro Exodus. Again, all those games will be disappearing from PlayStation Now for the foreseeable future.
Cool. And that is your roundup of games this week. All right. Let's move on to our next segment, which is called Cross-Examination. For any new listeners out there, Cross-Examination is a segment that we do where we take big relevant news about Xbox and PlayStation when they intersect with each other in the gaming world. We then debate, speculate, or create a discussion of our own, which I think fosters good discourse for video games. So, this week's topic, the console Cold Wars. We've talked about this before, Pat,
Yep.
in a previous episode. When will they end? When will these companies come out with their prices, release dates? Well, the console Cold Wars are beginning to thaw. So Xbox Series S release date, pre-order date, price was announced. Not only for the Series S, but for the Series X as well. Big bombshell of a news drop this week. So in particular, we have the Xbox Series S and the X, I believe, pre-order ready, September 22nd. Release date for both of these consoles is November 10th. The Series S is priced at $299 and the Series X is priced at $499. So EA Access is also included with the Game Pass announcement. So that means if you have Game Pass, that will just be in there automatically free. You don't have to actually have an EA account to access these games. So that's great news for Xbox boys. And then there's also a no interest payment plan, which I think is called Instant Access or something like that.
Oh, nice.
So what we were talking about last week, it's that my concern was it feels a bit tone deaf that both of these platforms are coming out with new consoles amidst this, economic crisis that's looming ahead, the pandemic. Well, it seems like Microsoft has a bit of an answer for that. A, with the price of the lower end console, very affordable for anyone who wants to dip their toe into next gen, and also with a payment plan that is actually going to save you money in the long run. So I actually looked up one of the articles, I think it was on I forget the article, but it mentions how you're actually going to save $20 if you just sign up for the installment plan because you're getting Game Pass Ultimate with it instead of just paying straight up. So it's funny that there is a bit of a response to what we were talking about last week. And also, what else is going on with Xbox Series S and X? I think we got some more game, like what's releasing on like day of. We got that full lineup too.
So yeah, actually Assassin's Creed Valhalla got moved up a week from November 17th to November 10th to be in line with the Series X and S release.
Yeah, so this week we're not really speculating too much. We're just kind of reacting to the news, but it is important to speculate as to what PlayStation's how they're gonna respond, when they're gonna respond, which I would assume is gonna be really soon. I would say even by the time you're listening to this podcast, there might even be a response or the week after.
I'm still gonna hold my card saying I think we'll find out about it at the Tokyo Game Show in 2 weeks. I think that was on the 22nd of September.
Yeah, which is the day that you can pre-order
Ooh.
console, so that's interesting. And I also thought it was interesting last week how we talked about, there was a Forbes article talking about the Tokyo Game Show, how they specifically said, Xbox said that they're not going to release any new console information. And it said in the article that it could be because they're going to release information before, which they did. So I think that was a kind of a juke, maybe like psyching Sony out a bit. And then maybe Sony thought that they were going to release the info later. So I think Sony's probably scrambling right now to figure out what they're going to do. I think they hit a little bit of a juke and then a little bit of a jab at them. So Pat, what do you think about all this? Just before we go further, what do you think about the Series S release date, the price, pre-order, all that stuff? What do you think about it?
I guess my first question before we jump in, is that no interest payment plan with xCloud available for that Series S or just the Series X?
xCloud?
Or Game Pass promo where you basically save $20? Is that available for both iterations of the next gen Xbox?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
That drives a hard bargain then, Dave. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Series X, darn it. These names are ridiculous. I'm pretty sure the Series S as in soy is
S as in series.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that iteration, the lower end iteration, is cheaper than buying a PlayStation 4 right now, which is pretty freaking cool for a next gen console. I mean, we'll have to see how these two different consoles perform, but that no interest payment plan drives a hard bargain.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people say online how lucky Microsoft is that were already planning this a year or two in advance, a lower end spec, a lower price console. And this worked perfectly with the pandemic. And again, what we were talking about before, how PlayStation 5, yeah, they're coming out with their own console that's going to directly compete with the Series X, but they don't have a clear response to that lower end console. They do have the digital version, the discless version, but I'm wondering how much they can actually cut the price of that one. People are speculating $100. I think it might be $50. I don't know if I would go as far as saying that this discless console is going to be, $399.
I keep forgetting that there's a digital only version. They came out with it at the exact same time. That's the one you see in pictures. Personally, I'm going to pick up the disc version. There's no reason really for me personally to not have that capacity and usability to watch, Blu-rays, DVDs.
Especially knowing that the storage is not going to be an insane amount. I heard, I don't know if it's like a terabyte or whatever. I know they're both kind of similar, the Series X, in terms of just raw storage. If you're looking for that high-end console, PS5, you'd probably want to go with the disc version.
Maybe Sony hits both of these price points. The discless version is $299 and the disc version is $499. But if that's really the only difference between the two consoles, I think it's bad news to show up at the store on release day or September 17th and you are on Black Friday even, and you go to the Microsoft shelf and you see $299, $499, and then you jump to PlayStation and it's $399, $499. Mm-hmm. I think people head back to that bargain with the Series S, or it at least causes a switch in someone's head where they see the Series X as a better deal.
Yeah, and I think the value with the Series S is also really important to talk about, just because if we're talking about also with storage, I think the Series S comes in at 500 gigabytes, which is not a lot. If you're playing Call of Duty, if you're playing Fortnite, if you're playing all these big multiplayer games and you want to keep them on your console, that might be a problem. But I think they're aiming more toward that casual gamer who's usually only tied to like one big game, or if they want to beat and delete games. That I think they're also appealing to that crowd too with Game Pass. If you don't want to keep a bunch of, you can't keep a bunch of games on that console. So I'm really interested to see how the consumers respond to the Series S. I wonder I feel like it could really go either way.
It's conceivable that if the Series S only has a 500 gigabyte hard drive, which I find, if that's the case, that's just egregiously low and practically forces the user to have to subscribe to Game Pass. But that really creates a catch-22 if you're in a part of the United States that doesn't have a great internet connection, or where data rates are much higher than in your metropolitan cities. It really screws those people over and kind of forces them to go for the Series X. We'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, we won't have to wait very long. And then we also received a rumor from an anonymous source that the PS5 will have to price match, which I think it's not really super big news. I think we're expecting that competitive angle to it. I don't think Sony's going to overprice on they have to meet somewhere in the middle between the Series X and the Series S. They have to do something to bring themselves lower.
It's a good strategic move for the Series S. If the digital-only PS5 is going to be $299, it's conceivable that that's like a $50 to $100 loss for Sony per unit. That really messes with Sony's financials at the end of the day. But that also being said, I 100% think Sony, no matter what, was going to price at $499, because after the flub that was the $600-$700 price point of the PS3, they can't let that happen again.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to wait too long on Sony's response. I think we'll probably get it really soon. But I really thought we were gonna, like our last episode we were talking about, or whatever episode, we were saying how it would be funny if we waited till November and we have to walk into the store and we're like, well, what's the price? We don't know.
Yeah.
But
it'll be interesting to see the power difference between the S and the X. As far as the PlayStation 5 goes, the power and chipsets internally are going to be exactly the same. So it'll be interesting to see between the Series S and the X. And I think Sony, whether it was a good or bad lesson, learned that they cannot make an underpowered machine after the flub that was the hardly known PlayStation Vita TV.
Mm-hmm.
That could play PlayStation Vita carts and also supposedly stream from PlayStation Now. I have good internet. I tried that in 3 separate houses with 3 connections that I know are good and reliable, and I was never able to get it to work correctly. The PlayStation Vita TV actually came out at a price point of $100. Within a year, David, I picked one up. I've since sold it. It was practically useless to me. But that PlayStation Vita TV I picked up on clearance at Walmart for $10.
Yeah, that's quite of a price jump right there.
Yeah, so I think they learned their lesson. We'll see if...
And so did Microsoft. They learned their lesson too. They did the same mistake. So whoever's usually on top, for the last generation, they typically get a bit ahead of themselves. Think they're all all that in a bag of potato chips.
If you want some more discussion about that, check out episode 4.
Check it out. When will we see Sony fire back? We don't know. We'll be soon. What does the Series S mean for the PS5 price? We will find out. Let us know what you guys think about this cross-examination segment. Hit us up at our email. Let us know what you think. psboxcast@gmail.com.
psboxcast@gmail.com.
Cool. So let's jump into our fast fire news. Pat, I know you were keeping up on the Ubisoft Forward event that just happened.
Yeah, Dave. So we're going to jump into fast fire news right now. This is a super duper special edition of Fast Fire News, the Ubisoft Extravaganza. So yeah, anyways, we got the Ubisoft Forward event this past Thursday, and we had seven games announced. Not too bad. It's not much, but it's a lot more than we have had almost for the last month. So, first off, we got Immortals Phoenix Rising, which we discussed last week, and is the new name of Gods and Monsters, previously known as Gods and Monsters. Immortals Phoenix Rising is a, quote, grand mythology adventure. And it's all about Greek mythology and stuff. The graphics have been upgraded substantially from what we first saw at E3 2019. Phoenix is the main character. She is stranded on an island and gets the help of the Greek god Hermes. And you know what? It looks a lot like Fortnite meets God of War meets... That's pretty much what it is.
I got some Zelda vibes from the gameplay. A little bit of the gameplay, a little bit of the art style too.
Yeah, that's fair. There is... In what the most recent Zelda, Link has got the glider thing, and Phoenix in Immortals has the wings of Icarus. And David, you pulled some pretty interesting info about Immortals.
Yeah, speaking of that game, we actually just learned for a GameSpot article that the Halo Infinite composer, I believe his name is Gary Coker, he's been working on the score, and that's a huge bit of news. And I just wanted to speculate for a second. So this dude is pretty busy, and I'm wondering if he's already done with the Halo Infinite score, or if he's working on this one.
Is that known that he's done, or you're...
He's known he's working supposedly working on the Halo Infinite score right now, and he worked on Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Oh, nice.
Talented guy. So I'm really wondering if it's already done, if the score is already done, because the game was supposed to come out in November. So by this time he should probably have like most of that music done. So I'm wondering if he's kind of just like doing all this at once, or if he's jumping on this all of a sudden. I don't really know, but that dude is a really talented guy, hardworking. He's got a lot on his plate.
That makes me more excited for this game. And David, Immortals comes out December 3rd, so that's one of the few release window games that we have. Maybe a game that either of us could be playing on Christmas.
Cool.
So then next up, we got Prince of Persia Sands of Time Remake was announced. And that was originally a game from 2003. The footage of that did not look the best. But mind you, we only got alpha footage. During the Ubisoft Forward presentation, we did see the motion capture. Mocap was being redone and was shown. So I think that game will end up being pretty beautiful.
Nice. I never played that game, but it's refreshing to see that they're actually doing a remake rather than like a remaster. I don't know too much about that game.
If it wasn't a full remake, I would have been disappointed because, let me tell you, Dave, that game still looked like it was straight out of 2003. So yeah, that's going to be coming out January 21st, which is pretty cool. Then we got Hyperscape, which is out September 15th. If you missed out on some of those Game Pass games over at Xbox, you can still jump into Hyperscape, because that is a free battle royale set in a future urban environment. And David, you're much more into these battle royale games than I am, and so you know how long some of those games can go.
Sure.
What's cool about Hyperscape is that it's actually all about fast-paced gameplay, so probably about as fast as your regular Call of Duty multiplayer. Check it out.
Awesome.
If you're into that stuff. Then, not so much a game, but we did see the Rainbow Six Siege World Cup was announced, and that's actually going to be... David, this really hit me, because it could be a revolution, more or less, for esports. This is the first ever esports competition where the 20 teams that are involved, instead of being players picked from wherever, it will actually be 20 teams representing 20 different countries, which is pretty cool. The Rainbow Six publishers doubled down on their dedication to the game, in it being they want the game to run and be supported for 10 years. Right now we're 5 years into the game, and they are, as part of the announcement, they announced that they will be adding Splinter Cell's Sam Fisher to Rainbow Six.
Ooh.
And shout out, David, I'm probably going to have to show you this after we record, but shout out to the Rainbow Six World Cup video editor, because that video, I have no interest. I'm like barely interested in esports, but that video got me hype. I would like to go to that event after seeing that video, man.
Shouts out to the video editor.
All right, then we got Scott Pilgrim vs. the World Complete Edition coming holiday 2020. No solid date on that, but people have been hyped for that game. People love that game, and we haven't seen it anywhere since the Xbox 360 era. I'm pretty sure it was taken off the store at some point, so you can't even buy it if you wanted to. But we're finally getting that back, and that's like a 16-bit brawler. Very similar to the Simpsons or Ninja Turtles arcade game. So, pretty cool.
Cool.
And then in Ubisoft, I like your games, but I don't know, maybe it's enduring. We're talking about it right now. But they always seem to be able to insert some weirdness and like seemingly, I don't know, like Aisha Tyler was there host for a couple years. Like nobody else had a celebrity host, and Aisha Tyler though, is she? I mean, Snoop Dogg's into video games. Why not Snoop?
I don't know. He's doing cameos too. So
smoking big old blunts on the Ubisoft stage. Yo, I can't wait for Rainbow Six.
They're probably saving him for a Call of Duty promotion.
That's right. No Aisha Tyler this year, but during the Watch Dogs Legion little part of the presentation, we discovered that Stormzy, the big famous English rapper, is going to be featured in the game. And not only featured, but he's going to have a special story mission.
Nice.
Yeah. So they showed us some silly music video. Anyways, Watch Dogs Legion will be dropping October 29th. And then last but not least in the big presentation, we found about Riders Republic. And that's a follow-up to Ubisoft's 2016 snowboarding game Steep. But this time, Riders Republic features 4 extreme sports. We got BMX, skiing, snowboarding, skydiving, and alongside skydiving, we got wingsuits and jet wingsuits.
Ooh, that's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, I'm finna fly into a mountain.
Yeah, I'm only gonna do that if it's in a video game.
But you know what? This game actually looks gorgeous. Part of their philosophy was pulling from natural, real environment. So they stitched together parts of 7 national parks. Only 5 of them were revealed. So we got Yosemite, Bryce Canyon, Mammoth Mountain, which isn't really a national park, I don't think. Then we got Zion National Park and Grand Tetons National Park. So I'm going to go ahead and speculate the 2 that we didn't get are at least one that we didn't see yet, and I'm sure people will be excited as heck for, will be Yellowstone, which is just right next door to Grand Tetons. So Riders Republic is going to have in-game events like Red Bull events and X Games. It's going to have a pretty cool 50-player plus PvP area. And then finally, Ubisoft ended the event, and in the post-show, we saw more. I've never heard of it before, but we saw Roller Champions, and we saw gameplay of that. And that's kind of like Jet Set Radio meets Rocket League. You know, I'm a big lover of Rocket League. I think we talked about it on episode 1 or 2 for people, but I suck at Jet Set Radio, so I won't be playing Roller Champions. And interesting enough, Roller Champions is going to be on mobile, and we have announcements for PS4 and Xbox, but they did not and have not announced for next-gen consoles. So, whatever that is about. All right, that's it for the Fast Fire News this week.
Sounds good.
So let's head into our rotating segment.
So this week we're actually doing a new one as well. This week it's called Aged Like Fine Wine. And we tried to do a segment called Aged Like Fine Milk. We'll try to find an article that is extremely outdated so we can make fun of it. But I ended up finding a really insightful article that was written a few years ago regarding Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Anthem. So just to give a shout out to this person, I don't know how many people actually read this article, but just to give him a shout out, Angel Kikevsky wrote on futuregamereleases.com, and I quote, "We all know what happened to Star Wars Battlefront 2 over this period. All of that time, there was only one question buzzing in my head. Round and round, days by days, especially since EA's failure with Star Wars Battlefront 2, who imagine or not, it's the same publisher for one of the most potentially and most anticipated games of 2018, Anthem. I will make this more like an open letter addressed to EA to please avoid implementing the same practices in Anthem. I am more than sure that there are more than 1 million people out there waiting for Anthem to come out, and from what happened to Battlefront 2, they're distorted by half now. Let Anthem breathe on its own and its core developers. I am more than sure that BioWare wouldn't like to implement any of your microtransactions strategies to earn more money. Just let it be how the main and most influential developers love to be. Do not stir your hands into everything and create nothing else but a cancerous environment. Anthem is one of the games that has an insane potential to shock the whole world, in a positive manner, of course. That kind of sci-fi action adventure open world RPG has never been seen before, ever. I hope Anthem won't become a slave to your petty tricks, and BioWare will have their power to perform a change whenever they like on everything. I am pointing this out to EA, since you have also failed with Battlefront 2 microtransactions. You cannot go against people's will. Anthem speaks for itself. It's one of a kind and masterpiece of its own. Therefore, I repeat, please keep your microtransactions out of it. I totally agree with one thing, cosmetics. You can bring cosmetics in and create your own market especially for it, even if you would like. You could put 10,000 items on your market and sell them for millions if you like. But making a game pay to win, please no. Therefore, I do not have anything else to talk about. I just hope Anthem won't include microtransactions, and we will witness the best game ever to appear on the gaming market. P.S. It is not just me, since people have already begun their journey. End quote. So, Pat, aside from that very last bit, this whole entire article is aged like a fine wine. This was after Battlefront 2, and he was expressing his concerns over Anthem, and unfortunately all of those things came to fruition. EA totally put their hand in the honey jar, and they messed with that game, and they came out with a ton of microtransactions.
They thought it was a honey jar. It was a freaking bee's nest.
Yes, it's a better metaphor. So
my favorite part was, we hope that it shocks the gaming world in how good it is. It came out like a freaking...
It definitely shocked the gaming world.
Yeah, it came out like a little static shock from the laundry.
I think that was kind of a cool little, flash in history. Even if it was 3 years ago, it's kind of cool just to see people's perspective back then. It's cool to see how games have evolved because of Battlefront 2, because of Anthem. These horrible practices that were put into games. Now that's become such a hot topic that they're... gaming companies are forced to, do battle pass systems and more upfront purchases with microtransactions. So a lot of good has come since then, but also a lot of bad as well. They're, EA, Activision, they're finding different ways to nickel and dime us every day. But
I think he foreshadowed a little bit in that we're fine with cosmetics. We'll spend it if we want. I buy too many Rocket League battle passes so I can get cosmetic items that I'm never gonna use. But I think he foreshadowed a little bit that the current gaming market, we got pay for cosmetic stuff all over this place, and golly, it's sustained Fortnite, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, I think the main thing that we can take away from it is that these games have changed the industry, and the fact that there's not as much loot boxes, there's not as much random generated stuff that it's pretty much like gambling, even though that still is in games like sports games like 2K, NBA 2K, and Madden and FIFA. Unfortunately, those games are still going pretty hard with it. But for shooters and action adventure games, for the more hardcore gamers, everyone's kind of spoken their piece about that.
I think it also sort of inadvertently dances around the concept of EA, and so many other publishers are guilty of sort of focus grouping a game into the ground. If the developer ideas were able to just flourish more, I think the game itself would have come out better.
No, for sure. Yeah, like how we saw with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. EA this time they stepped back and said, "Hey, Respawn, do whatever you want. We won't pressure you to put microtransactions in the game." And that worked phenomenally for them. Now there's a sequel coming out. Everyone's super excited for that. And you got a single player narrative focused game, which everyone wants. So I'm glad to see more of that, and a confirmation that those games there's still a place for those games.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order was a great game. I think we will see more of it. I mean, at what point does the market become oversaturated again? Sort of rubber banding back and forth. As a bunch of multiplayer games come out, all the developers starting up new games say, oh, we should make single player experiences now. And then, let's say 2022 or 2023, we see a complete influx of single player experiences. And I think that's just how the industry sort of works, but is what it is.
All right, well, that has been your aged like fine wine segment. Maybe next week we'll do it aged like milk. We'll keep you updated on that.
It's a lot harder to find one of those aged like milk articles than one would have expected. But we will get back to that potentially next week. So, we have been your hosts,
David Brown, SDDawg,
and PlayStation Pat Fennel. Green vs. Blue can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, or your favorite podcast service, and will be available on YouTube soon. You can directly support us by heading to patreon.com, Green vs. Blue. That's patreon.com. That is
.crime.
.crime. That's patreon.com/Green vs. Blue. Or you can continue the conversation with us on Facebook and Twitter this week. David, where can we find you again?
Check me out on YouTube, SDDawg, or Twitch, Real SDDawg.
Cool. And you can find me on YouTube at VarietyPat. That is VA Riot Y Pat. Or on Instagram at PlayStation Pat. If you have any burning questions or comments about today's show, or if you have anything else you would like to say about us or to us.
Yeah, talk to me into the face.
Yeah.
Show it to our say it to my face if you're going to say something.
Well, if you want to say something, then you can hit our direct line at psboxcast@gmail.com. Thank you, and you will hear from us again next week.
Bye-bye.